Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to take a look at these FIXFAN pressure washer nozzle guard tips that I purchased from Amazon. These currently sell on Amazon for $19.99 at the time of this video. And when I received mine, they arrived in this little plain white box with this label, no paperwork inside. So if there's any issues with your nozzle guard set, you're most likely going to have to contact Amazon or contact the manufacturer through Amazon to resolve any issues. As you can see on the label, yes, these are made in China like most everything these days. And each of these pressure washer nozzle guards was sealed in one of these Ziploc bags. This soap dispensing tip was free in the box. Now, FIXFAN offers this nozzle guard set in 4 different orifice sizes. They come in a 2.5, a 3.0, a 3.5, and a 4.0 orifice size. And the reason they offer these sets in different orifice sizes, guys, is because, by changing your orifice size, you can manipulate the PSI that your pressure washer is putting out. If you go to a smaller orifice size, you'll normally get more PSI out of your machine, but you're going to get less gallons per minute, which is how much water is being pushed through your tip. If you increase the orifice size, you're going to get less PSI, but more gallons per minute. And in that way, you can kind of manipulate and try to fine tune how much PSI you're getting out of your machine. But you got to be careful because you don't want to go to too low of a orifice size, because the smaller the orifice, the more pressure you're putting on your machine, the harder it's having to work. So it can make your machine have burn out sooner and not last as long. So just be careful when you're choosing your orifice size, guys. Now, this set is color coded like most of the pressure washer tip sets. Normally the colors are pretty standard across the board. 0 degree is usually red, yellow is usually 15, green is 25, white is 40, and your soap dispenser tips, which I'm not even going to talk about. And yes, these all correspond, except for some reason, FIXFANS went with orange on the 15 degree tip versus the yellow. I'm not sure why, but I thought I'd point that out. Now, getting to the tips themselves, these, I got a little snub gun here. These are 1/4 inch connections, so they fit a 1/4 inch quick connect. Okay, and these are the nozzle guards themselves. Just this large rubber skirt. It's a TPE material. Okay, it's fairly firm, but it's pliable. You can squish it in. Now, if you push on it this way, it doesn't push in at all. It's pretty firm. It's got rounded edges out here. It's not sharp anywhere. It's fairly flexible, but again, it's fairly firm too. And if you measure from the base to the top, it's 2.5 inches on this versus a regular tip. I measured these, and they were 1 3/16 inch from the base to the tip. Okay, so to give you a better comparison, if you put these up next to each other, you can see how much larger these nozzle guards right here are than these standard tips. Okay, see how much bigger around they are. They're just much larger, but they're really not much heavier. Okay, I don't really notice much weight difference really. Also, the diameter from this edge to this edge on this skirt is 1 7/16 inch. And to give you a better idea of scale, I have a 1 gallon milk jug lid right here. And when I set this nozzle guard on here and kind of line it up, it's exactly the same size as at the top of that milk jug lid. So if you need a better idea of scale, that'll give you a better idea of how big around they are. Also, I did notice one thing. I have a strong magnet here, and on your standard tips back here, on your regular tips you can find anywhere, if I touch this back here, it's not magnetic at all. But right here on the tip, very magnetic. I'm not sure what these tips are made out of, what type of material, if they're stainless or what, but it's very magnetic. So on these nozzle guards, I decided to test it. Same thing, guys. Absolutely, I don't know if you can see that or not, absolutely no magnetic attraction back here at all. So I'm not sure what metal that's made out of. Could just be nickel-plated brass, I don't know. But if you'll notice the tip up in there, that jet tip up in there, when I stick this in there, very magnetic, just like the regular tips. So I just thought I'd point that out. Getting to the fact, people want to know, why do we use nozzle guards? Why do you want this big nozzle guard? Well, the main reason, first of all, are they necessary? No, these are not necessary. People have been using the regular tips forever. you're not going to get any more performance increase by using a nozzle guard tip versus a standard tip. There's no difference in the spray patterns or anything, okay? The main reason they came out with nozzle guards, which is this big rubber skirt, okay, this big rubber pliable skirt, is they decrease the possibility of damaging the paint on your car, okay? Again, this is a pliable rubber. Say you're washing your car and you have your standard tip locked in here, and you take this out and you switch to another tip. You put that tip in, you push it back, and you'll notice maybe your collar didn't lock all the way down. Oops. Maybe you didn't lock all the way down, okay? Maybe you weren't paying attention, or just maybe your quick connect's malfunctioning and the tip doesn't lock in. Then you go over to spray your car and you pull on that trigger and that tip just shoots out of there. Well, it's kind of stuck. But say that tip just shoots out of there and it just shoots out of your gun and hits the paint on your car, okay? These standard tips are very hard plastic housings. This is just hard plastic around this tip. And this is all metal back here. And if this hits your paint anywhere on these edges, you see these little protrusions on the ends, these little nipple-looking protrusions on the end. Even if it hits perfectly flat, these jet tips and these metal jet tips in here are not perfectly flush with the top of that housing there. They do protrude just a little bit on some of them. And so even if it hits perfectly flat, that metal tip is going to hit your paint, okay? And it's going to chip your paint or scratch it or cause damage. Whereas if you have one of these nozzle guards in here and that was to happen and that thing shot out of there and hits the car paint or surface, this is not going to damage your car. It's rounded, it's not hard, it's not sharp, it's pliable, and it's not going to damage your paint, okay? So that's the main reason they created these. Also, if you're up close to your car, say you're washing under the wheel wells or your step bars in your truck, or just very close to your car and just not paying attention, or washing along, and you bump your paint with this while you're swiping back and forth, that hard plastic right there is possibly going to scratch or scrape or scuff your paint. Whereas again, if you have one of these on there, okay, and you swipe it and bump it, it's going to prevent you, from damaging your paint, okay? And another thing to think about, which a lot of people don't think about, because it's happened to me before. Say you have one of these standard tips in here, okay, you have a standard tip in here and you're washing along and you're just spraying back and forth and a wasp comes out of nowhere and gets after you, or maybe a horsefly. It's happened to me many times, guys. It does happen. Well, your first thing you're going to do is you're just going to react. You're going to, either if it flies up in your face, you're going to swat at it, or you're going to throw your gun and run. You're just going to react. And if you have one of these standard tips in your gun and you rake the side of your car with this on here, this hard plastic is going to scuff or scrape or chip your paint, okay? It's going to happen. But if you have one of these in here and something gets after you and like I said, if you swing at it or toss your gun or something and it hits on here, it's not going to damage your paint or the surface of your paint or anything like that. So that's another reason to go with a nozzle guard. Are these 100% guaranteed to prevent any damage to your car? No, they're not 100% guaranteed, because yes, this tip could shoot out of here. Okay, this one, if it shoots out here, no matter if it hits here, flat on the edges, or tumbles over and hits on the metal, it's going to do damage to your paint. It's going to chip your paint or scratch it. But this one, if it shoots out, if it hits on the front or on the edges or anywhere, it's not going to damage. But say you're 4 feet away from your car and this tip shoots out, okay, and instead of just going straight against your paint, it decides to kind of spin or tumble, and it kind of tumbles sideways. Yes, this metal tip, if it tumbles or spins sideways, or maybe it hits at an angle on your paint, say it shoots out and hits just enough far over that when it hits, it causes the back to smack against your paint, then yes, this could still damage your paint, okay? So no, it's not 100% guaranteed this is going to protect your car if this shoots out. But my point is, this 100% is guaranteed to hit a hard surface, and 100% guaranteed it's probably going to do something to your paint. Whereas this, it's 50-50, because there's a 50% chance it might tumble and hit this end, or a 50% chance it's going to hit on the soft end. So these guys are not much more expensive than your standard tips, and for a few more dollars, the 50% better chance that it's going to protect my car is worth it to me. So I just thought I'd point that out to you as well. Now, another reason I like these over a standard tip, say you're washing your car in your concrete driveway, maybe you have chat rock that you like to wash your car on some, you have a chat driveway with rocks, and you're washing your car and you're one of those people that when you get through spraying, you just like to drop your gun. Okay, if you're repeatedly dropping this hard plastic housing on concrete or rocks, this is eventually going to break. It's going to get brittle, it's going to crack, and it's going to break off. And then you're just kind of a metal tip sticking out here, okay? Also, if you're dropping this constantly, and say it's hitting flat down like that on the concrete or rocks, it's going to cut grooves or scores into that fan tip groove, and your fan tip is going to get deformed, okay? It's going to cause damage to your tip and stuff because it's constantly hitting or possibly shoving debris or crap up inside that jet hole and clogging it up, okay? Whereas if you have one of these nozzle guards on here, that tip's about an inch up in there. You can drop this straight on the concrete, rocks, whatever. Nothing's going to reach that tip and damage it. Nothing's going to reach up there and clog that up. No dirt or grit is going to get shoved up in there. This isn't going to get, it's not going to crack or bust off from being dropped because it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of bouncy, okay? And it's not going to happen. It's not going to damage your tip, and this isn't going to break off like it's going to if you're washing your car on a concrete or rock driveway. So I wanted to point that out as well. The other benefit to having a nozzle guard tip over your standard tips, they're just easier to hold on to, guys. I mean, say you're washing your car and you want to go from a 40 degree or a 25 degree tip. Say you're washing your tires or your 25 degree tip, and then you want to switch to a 40. You pop this out and you got this in your hand. You can just easily hold on to this tip while you're switching over to this tip, okay? They're easy to hold on to. But if you have these standard tips and you're rolling these around your hands, they're hard to manipulate and hold on to, dude. They're very small. They're hard to get a hold of, especially since they're hard plastic and metal. These are kind of rubbery. They've got a little grip to them. And if your hands are soapy and wet and you're trying to manipulate these and push your collar back and hold on to this one too, you're going to be dropping these a lot, okay? You're going to be dropping these a lot versus these are much easier to hold on to and manipulate. And also on top of that, if you drop these, say you're switching your tips over and you're switching from this tip to this tip and you drop it. Say you're washing your car out in the yard and you haven't mowed your yard in a while. Say your grass is about that tall and you drop one of these and it gets down underneath that grass. Do you know how hard that's going to be to find? Okay? It's going to be much harder to locate this versus this. If you drop this down in there, it's going to be much easier to locate this big nozzle guard versus this. Again, if you have a chat driveway, big chat rocks, say this, you drop this tip, you're switching tips and it drops and it bounces and it goes up under your car and falls down those cracks between those rocks. And you're down on your hands and knees looking under your car and you can't see it because it's down in those cracks because it's going to fit down in those rocks and wedge down in there. That's not going to happen with these big nozzle guards. You're going to be able to see that very easy. That big rubber skirt, all that color. It's going to be much easier to locate that. And also, say you're just, say you're washing your car, okay, with your 40 degree tip, and you're over by your tire, decide to wash your tire. You pop that out. You set this down. Say you just set it on your bumper. Say you set it on the tailgate of your truck or just anywhere. Just set it on the ground somewhere next to you. And you switch over. And then when you go back to find it, you forgot where you set it. You're trying to locate it. You can't find it because it's hard to see these little tips. But I guarantee you, if you have this tip sitting there and you set it up on your bumper, your tailgate, or the edge of your truck or somewhere, it's going to be much easier to locate that because it's got all that color. It's much larger in size, and it's just going to be much easier to locate if you're real bad about misplacing things, okay? So just another reason that I like these nozzle guards versus the standard tip size. Another thing I like about them, if you'll look on them, if you can see in here, it has, it's not focusing very well. I'm not sure what the problem is. It's not focusing, but if you can see on here, it says FIXFANS in big black bold letters, and if you spin it around, you can see a 15 degree fan with 3.0 nozzle orifice, okay? Very easy to read. Whereas on these little tips, it's like 25 degrees. It's very small written in there. Yes, the colors tell you the angle, but when it comes to the orifice size, you have to actually look on the writing, and it's very small and very faded. It's barely imprinted on this one. So although you have, say you have several different sets, even nozzle guard sets, they're large and you can tell what fan pattern they put out because of the color they are. But say you have a set of these in 3.0, a set of these in 2.5, and a set of these in 4 for different jobs, and you have them all sitting over there. Although you can just look at the colors and tell which spray pattern they are, you can't tell which orifice sizes they are unless you pick up each individual one and read them, okay? Well, one thing I like about these, if you have several different sets of these, you can take a Sharpie and write down the orifice sizes on the sides of these. So I can write 3.0 on this set, and I can write 4.0 on the next set. So then when I look at them, I say I want a 3.0 40 degree, I can just pick this up real quick. I know it's a 40 degree tip, and then just spin it around and see the orifice size right here without having to sit there and fiddle around and focus on that, especially if you have bad eyesight, okay? Especially if you can't focus on numbers and stuff. You can just write the orifice size right here on the side of this. It makes it a lot easier to discern which one you want and which one you want to use. So I really like that idea too. Yeah, guys, that's about it. Not sure what else to say about them. I'm not sure about how durable they're going to be. You know, if you're out in the sun with them a lot, how if they're going to get brittle or soft or anything like that, or if you use them in cold weather, if they're going to get really hard or not. I have no experience using them. I'll probably do a follow-up video later, you know, if I notice anything negative about them to point out. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I helped some of you out there decide whether or not you want to switch over from the standard little pressure washer tips that they use to some of these nozzle guards. They're not much more expensive, guys, and there's so many advantages to these. I don't see why you wouldn't, but again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up, and better yet, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It's going to help me out a lot. And again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Thanks again, guys.